Let's talk about the sad, sad history of the He-Man Origins line, which is actually a pretty fucking awesome line to be honest with you, but distribution has made collecting this a nightmare. Especially if you're somebody like me that really cherishes toys. I worked at KB Toys back in the day, so right off the truck I would get these toys and um, I'm the original owner of a lot of my toys here, and I try to protect them as much as I could, the past 20 years and stuff. So it's kind of a formula I've always had. I have toys from, the 80s and 90s when I was a kid that's opened. So, I have some of the original He-Man stuff here, some downstairs and stuff. So I do have a few things that are opened, but I'm not an opener. I like stuff like, AFA cases. I like the protective bubble cases here and so on and so forth. So I'm trying to get an entire mint collection. That's kind of been my goal when I started with this line. But I started on this line about a year too late. So I started in, I think, the end of 2022, and as you can see, the first figures up here came out around 2020, which started around the COVID era. So from the people I've talked to who were collecting during the COVID era, they said, the figures were pretty scarce. You just kind of couldn't find them. Sometimes they'd be overflowed in certain areas, and then sometimes they were really scarce and they just didn't seem to have a lot of quantities. Running out of plastic. There's all kinds of stories. The shipping containers are locked up and lost, and one day these containers will appear, which is kind of odd because now we're at kind of the end of 2023, and people all of a sudden the past month have been starting to get some figures from 2020 pop up in their stores. I seen a person post an Orko, a Manny Faces, a Scare Glow. Some of these figures from 3 years ago have been popping up. So there's a lot to get into here, and I didn't make no base notes or anything, and no footnotes or none of that. I'm just kind of winging this. So if my details are off by a little nudge or so, just kind of bear with me. You'll get the gist of what's going on here. And if you're a collector and you've been collecting all these sorts, you already know what I'm complaining about. So this is more so for the people who are just starting to get in this line. If you're just now starting to get in this line while it's at the end of it and you're trying to go back and get everything, I really feel sorry for you because, like I said, I started maybe the end of 2022. The first figures I picked up was Faker, Fisto, and Skeletor. For some reason, Skeletor was kind of looming around. So that makes it 2021. That was the end of 2021, I believe, around December-ish. So, yeah, I should have had the hint when I went there, and they only had one peg of Faker, and he was gone and never to be seen again. And then I do remember I saw, at that time, I did see a Hordak and a Ram Man. And since there were more for the deluxes, I passed on those and just got the single figures. What I didn't know is I would never see these ever again, and I would have to pay inflated prices on these on eBay and toy collector stores, which ended up being the case with a lot of the figures that I missed that I had to go back and get. Now the other problem is I would go to eBay and try to get these figures, and even when you look for figures that are in mint condition, they still end up through shipping somehow getting destroyed by a fucking battle axe or repeatedly thrown at a wall or something. You can't depend on Amazon. Amazon's the worst. I would bring up pictures, but it's not worth my time of the Amazon packages I've got. So that's a whole ordeal in itself, is ordering online. Now, luckily, there is two different stores, Earth Entertainment and Big Bad Toy Store, which guarantees mint, but you're not always going to get mint, even though they guarantee it. So, Entertainment Earth, your best bet is kind of like, all right, so let me explain another thing real quick. You get about what they do is they put out a wave, okay? A wave consists of 4 characters, 1, 2, 3, 4. They do that about 4 times a year. So you have 16 new figures that come out per year, and then you have a couple of these exclusives. We'll get into the mess of that. And then you have these very high overpriced vehicles and dual packs here and all this other stuff. Strider. This came out years ago, and at my local Walmart, there's still 18 of them on the top shelf, and you can literally run your hand through them and have a layer of dust. So they overproduce the hell out of certain items, overprice the hell out of the vehicles, which don't sell, and then they end up on clearance for like $10 or something, and they lose their ass on them. And usually the clearance prices that these end up at is the price that they probably should have been at when they were released. Because, you know, I've seen when I've been in aisles before and I'm looking at figures and they're priced, all right, this Stratos, the worst figure ever in history. There's not a single person in the world that likes this variation of Stratos. And if you've been collecting, you know why. Because this motherfucker was produced by the hundreds of thousands and has been sitting on the shelf since early of 2022. And from this point on, all of these figures I had to buy online because every single store in my state, and I think other states too, from what I've talked to other people, are filled with nothing but Stratuses and Jitsu and Buzz-Off and Sorceress. And then you have some of the, you know, for a while it was the Wave 5. So we had Wave 5 and Wave 7 that was stuck on the shelf. But back to the point I was at that I totally went off the rails with. These figures in price keep getting inflated. So from what I've read, they started off around $14, $15, maybe even $1 less or so. When I started after tax or so, you would have to leave with a figure that was about $17. They're now around $20 to $22 per figure, roughly, depending on tax and such. And then you have the deluxes, which are even more, which were, I don't know, I think when I first started getting them, I think around 22 or so. And now they're kind of up to about 25, 27. So let's look at this from a parent's point of view who's not a collector. They're not collecting with their kid or anything. They're just taking their kid through the toy aisle and they're trying to get the cheapest toy possible, right? A kid sees He-Man, he's interested in He-Man, wants to buy He-Man, but it's on the top shelf pegs where the little kid's hands can't even reach to pull down to bring it to mom and say, Mom, I want this. And she doesn't know the price and will buy it. That doesn't happen. They put these figures all the way up because they're not selling, so they just put them at the top and don't give a shit about them. But what's even more interesting is, if you go over here, Turtles came out with a reissue line this year and last year, where they basically remade all the original Turtles. And they did it for, guess the price, $10. $10 a piece, you could get the entire Turtle line. You could get Shredder. They look like the original figures. They're awesome. You know, they're reproductions, but, you know, for people who never had Shredder and stuff, this is a win situation for both collectors and kids. If a kid takes a $10 figure to the mom, she's going to be like, all right, you can have 2 of them, you know? You know, 1 or 2 of them. They're only $10. Grab a whole handful, you know? But if a kid brings a $20 He-Man, you know, now the kid goes home with 1 He-Man. He has no He-Man to fight another He-Man. And now he's just sitting there with 1 He-Man bouncing around on the fucking table. And she's like, okay, now I got to get 2 He-Man figures. So at least he has 2 friends to fight against each other. Now that's $40 for 2 figures. Next thing you know, the mom and parents are selling the house because she can't afford all these He-Man figures. Believe me, I have about $2,300 worth of toys here. And I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I do have more He-Man figures downstairs, which are like more of my newer purchases. So like Castle of Grayskull's downstairs, Triclops, which is overly priced. Let's get into Triclops for a second. So Triclops being, you know, early on in the line, some are over there. That's why I got some blank spots because they're on display downstairs. But, you know, Triclops came and he went to eBay and now he's going for like $80. I just bought him at a toy convention for mint condition for $75. Now I hear 3 years later, after his release, he's having a reissue next year, and pre-orders are already sold out for that. But supposedly he's going to have a reissue, and that'll knock the price down for scalpers. But it depends on how much quantity they get. So the prices of these are inflating and going up and down like crazy. Another figure is Duplico, which is supposed to be right there. Actually, I had to buy 3 Duplicos, and I got lucky doing that. So this is what Duplico looks like. Well, let's get into the Duplico ordeal. So, like I said, I'm jumping all over the place because there's such a mess of everything to talk about with the fucking repaints of Roboto. You couldn't get the original Roboto. So what they did is they re-released them and then gave you a repaint, which the repaint is pretty awesome, I'll say. That color, and then that color. And I'm going to jump around again here. Couldn't find this wave anywhere. Roboto, Zodak, She-Ra, Merman. Couldn't find them anywhere. And then Big Bad Toy Store came out with them, luckily, later on. And then all the eBay scalpers went wild because their prices had to go down. Another point I missed before. So, like Entertainment Earth, when you buy the wave in the 4, they'll send 4 in the original Mattel box. But for some reason, right, this box will be inside of a box, which is guaranteed mint. But when you pull them out of the Mattel box, they're still banged up. So right from the factory of when Mattel ships it to Earth Entertainment, the corners and stuff get so screwed up because of the way they're packed in this box. The only guaranteed mint that you get is from Big Bad Toy Store. And in order to do that, you have to buy collector grade. Collector grade is you pay $3 more per figure to make sure it's inspected in mint condition. And they do a good job. It is totally worth it. It comes in this plastic here. So with some of these bigger things like this, for collector grade, you might have to pay more than $3, maybe $5. I've seen a few things go up to $10 recently for collector grade, which is really effing nuts. But it comes in this plastic. It comes in its own separate packed box, which then comes inside another box, which is built like Teflon. Big Bad Toy Store is very, very good for making sure if you order mint, you are going to get mint. You're paying extra for it. They know it, and they are probably the best company. So where was I jumping around? Let's go back to Duplico here. Here's another problem. So Duplico came out and nobody could find them. And this figure skyrocketed up to $300. Now, how on earth did I ended up getting 3 of them? Well, Walmart had a 1-day sale. It was some sort of like Toy Con or whatever, something on their website. And it was a 1-day sale. Almost nobody knew about it. I got lucky. Put in 3 orders because I know Walmart shipping is horrible. So I figured, okay, I'm going to go with 3 orders. What happened with that? My credit card got locked. And that happened to quite a few people. When I went to the store the next day, because these were pre-orders, and I tried to use my credit card, it did not freaking work. So I was stuck at the, luckily I have an extra credit card and I used that. I had to spend an hour or so on the phone with the credit card company getting it unlocked, because when I bought the Duplicos, they changed the price at checkout very fast, and it locked my credit card, and they considered it a fraud concern. So, if I wouldn't have got my credit card unlocked, I would have missed out the pre-order when they actually processed, and I would have missed out on my Duplicos. But I ended up getting 3 of these. And the reason why I ordered 3 of them, not because I'm a scalper, but because I'm a mint collector. And the sad thing with this line is you actually have to buy 3 or more of these figures in order to get 1 mint. How screwed up is that? We haven't even got into how bad the distribution is of Mattel yet and the horrors we've went through with this. So I bought 3 duplicos. I ended up getting 1 mint. This one is in decent condition, but when you take it out of this bubble that I put it in, the card is bent. It's very wavy and bent up. Now, I did get lucky in my third duplico, which was really bent up. I found somebody to trade it with, and we made a pretty good trade. And he was an opener, so he didn't care what the card looked like. He just wanted a duplico because they're hard to get. I do have this one listed online for trade, and it gets about 200 clicks per week, I think it is, on people from out of state trying to, me mail it to them, and them try to buy it and all sorts of stuff. But I ended up trading a duplico for one of the Mattel creations that I missed out on. We could jump to this for a second. So they release about maybe 2 of these a year or so. These are straight from the Mattel website. They charge like hell for these. After you pay tax and shipping, you pay like, what is it now? Anywhere from $25 to $40 per exclusive figure, which is ridiculous. And then you have to worry about if these end up getting to your house in good condition. Now, luckily, I've been pretty lucky. They're all in pretty good condition, but I've seen other people where their packages are just completely destroyed. And these are only on sale for 1 day. If you don't get them that 1 day, you'll have to pay a scalper price on eBay. You can't return it and get more. You get your money back, but they're not going to send you another one. So I've been lucky that, the boxes have came out pretty good. But the way they do send these is they just throw this box in another box. Now, the most recent one was Lady Slither. And I have this, it's not opened yet, but this is the sealer box, which is pretty cool. The shipping box. And I have no clue what this looks like inside of it. So inside this box is the actual product that, looks like that or whatever. It could be damaged. There was one person that opened their box and it was missing parts. So another thing with, me being somebody that doesn't open things, sometimes you don't know when parts are missing inside. So like, I don't resell, but let's say I went to resell that in the future and somebody opened it and it's missing parts. I can't complain to Mattel and say, hey, I bought this toy from you 20 years ago. Why did, what happened? Why did you send a product? And on top of that, there's been bizarre situations of people finding air printed cards and everything. I was in the store. There's some of these toys are missing the comic books that are behind it. Some people are doing swaps. They've become so desperate that they'll buy a toy like a one that's very common, like Stratos or something. They'll take them out of the bubble and then they'll swap them with like another figure or something, and then like let's say they'll take we got Moss Man downstairs. They'll take Snake Tila, and then they'll return it with like a Stratos figure inside of it, and they'll re-glue the bubble to the card. That's how desperate people are getting. So sometimes you really got to look at the product before you buy it and really inspect it, because it'll either be an error from the factory or an error because somebody returned it. I've seen people rip open these deluxes and just steal like the He-Man extra head. They'll just steal the extra head from the characters, and then it'll be all wrapped back up in tape and put up on a shelf. It's pretty nuts. So we could jump to the distribution, going back to like Ram Man and Hordak being the first 2 figures I saw. Hordak, a little bit easier to get. There's 3 variations of him, which came out, which people figured out later, which is like, there's 3 variations of his eyes. There's 2 variations of Ram Man, where his armor is shinier in one than the other. There's a variation of Clam Champ, where for some reason in Canada, they made a limited amount of Clam Champ where he's light-skinned. I don't know if they ran out of plastic, color, paint, what happened, but there's these rare figures of Clamp Champ in Canada. So, like, what happened in Canada was, for like, this is how wacky the distribution is. Canada got an overload of Ram Man figures, while America was kind of subpar. We had them for like a small amount of time, and he disappeared, was gone forever. Um, on the other hand, America got Leech and Snout Spout by the hundreds of thousands. Like, Leech and Snout Spout, this entire box and this entire box is filled with Leech and Snout Spouts because I got them for $5 a piece, and I actually just wanted to clear the peg in order to get new product in at my store. And for $5 a piece, I can have a yard sale in the future and sell those for $10 a piece, which is still $10 to $15 less than retail price. So, you know, some little kid at a yard sale will still buy them. So I'm just keeping them, and you know, there's nobody wants them right now. So I there's nothing I could do with them. At the very least, I live next door to a church. I could give them away for Christmas if I ever want to. But that's an example of the bad distribution. Is like, we have tons of Leech and Snout Spouts still in the stores, but Europe, they can't get Leech and Snout Spout at all. Back to Duplico, nobody could find these in America anywhere. You might get lucky and find one on a peg. Like, a couple of people have got lucky, but it just does not happen. And luckily, I got these at the one-day sale online. Like I said, I had to buy 3 just to get one that was in mint condition. Now, for some reason, in Mexico, they dumped off hundreds of these things, if not thousands, and workers in Mexico are just buying these by the boxes as soon as they come in and putting them directly on eBay so Americans can buy Duplico. Apparently, Duplico is supposed to get a re-release. We'll see what happens with that. I don't know. There's a couple figures that were hard to get, like Merman, that's coming out with a re-release next year. But what they're doing, instead of re-releasing the same package that you're missing, is they're putting a little stripe in the corner that says something like fan favorite or something, I don't know, something like that. So if you're a collector, you just have to rebuy it again. And then, you know, if you're a collector and you missed the first wave, you still got to buy the first one and then end up buying the reissue. So it doesn't really help anybody. It kind of helps openers because I think it's the same figure. And then we had different variations where the females, their knees were really weird, as you can see up there. Their knees were really weird. So most of the female figures, you know, luckily Mattel does kind of, the Origins people kind of listen to the community, and they ended up changing the females' knees. I don't think there's any I have that I could show, because they always have these damn stickers in front of them. But they changed the knees on the figures. So She-Ra, as far as I know, there's 4 versions of She-Ra. They resculpted her face and resculpted her knees. So there's one with the old face, new face, old knees, new knees. So there's 4 like total. So like if you're a big time completionist, you'll go nuts trying to find all 4 of them. Now, we can go to Manny Faces over here, which is a hard figure to find. And what they did is they reissued them here, but they put these 40th edition, 40-year anniversary stickers on them. The problem with that wave, which I have downstairs because I had to buy it from a toy convention, problem with the reissue wave of Manny Faces, Scareglow, Trapjaw, and the other figure, Orko. Problem with that is when they reissued it with the 40 sticker, it was exclusive to Target, and basically all the Target employees just took the boxes, put them on eBay, and you were never able to find them. I would do toy hunts for Origins and do like 9-hour routes where I would map every Target, Walmart, and Myers out and go to all these stores and do a big, loop circle around and end up back at home. Out of all the times I did that, I barely found any figures at all, maybe 1 or 2. I did find this Manny Faces in a Target in the middle of nowhere, and that was the only figure they had from that wave. The other three I had to buy at a toy convention for an over amount price. So it's like, even if you're looking for the first generation Manny Faces, they reissued it, but then they altered it. So it's like, oh, okay, now I got to get that one and that one. Now they're making a third Manny Faces, which is totally different from this one and that one. The entire back is different and all that. And you could either order it from Amazon or Big Bad Toy Store. Amazon canceled most of their orders. So this is a big thing about online buying too, is like, recently there's a new Rulers of the Sun. This isn't it right here, but it looks similar to this. It has 3 different figures. And, Target had a pre-order for that, which sold out. And now everybody's orders are getting canceled. So now everybody's pissed they can't find this product. And it's kind of similar with Mossman in a way that when Mossman came out, he's an exclusive for Walmart. These exclusives are horrible. When you look at the app for these products, they're not in the app. And here's another problem, is trying to find these toys on the app. I have to sit down because standing is killing my back. So I'll try to pan around a little bit here. I don't know how good you could see any of this or whatever, but this is mostly just me ranting anyways. The Target app is horrible. They don't show these in stock at stores, but now people are finding them in stores. Next problem is that these are $50 for just that pack. $50. This right here, $50. But the thing is the vehicles and stuff don't sell. So you have to kind of wait. You have 2 options here when buying He-Man Origins. You could either buy it at an inflated, ridiculous price and then secure that you'll have the figure, or you could wait to see if it becomes what we call a peg warmer, which ends up sitting on the shelf and gets clearance down. Roton up there, which is actually a very beautiful vehicle, very awesome. We'll just kind of pull that out just to show if you haven't seen Roton here. The black gloss on Roton is very awesome. They got a little bit smarter when they put the Rotons out. They seem to be ordering less. And Roton didn't last very long in the stores until they clearanced them down pretty fast. He only sat in stores about 4 months in low quantities, and couple of those stores in the bigger cities got, bigger quantities, but, I think he started at $40 and then he went down to $25, then $13. And now people are showing tags that they bought them for $5 or $3. So that's the crazy amount. It's like, you don't know if that's going to happen or not. You could either buy them for the huge price of $40, or you could wait and luck out and maybe get them for $3. But then again, if you're a mint collector like me, you don't know if that's going to happen. Even if you get it at $3, you don't know if it's going to be in good condition or not. So it is very all over the place. When I first started, I was like, I'm not going to go for the vehicles, just going for the figures. But I was still early in the line, and Land Shark up there, and let's see, Land Shark, Battle Cat, and Wind Raider, I got on sale for like $10 a piece about. And I was like, all right, I'm all in for the vehicles because I'm still early enough where I got the vehicles. I got all the vehicles up to line. And that's something I kind of regret because of the price of them. So the distribution, like I said, has been horrible. You have thousands of Duplicos in Mexico. And then they made 2 variations of Duplico where his eyebrows, you either have a light eyebrow or a dark eyebrow. So on top of it being an impossible character to get unless you pay a shitload of money for him, now you have a variation of them where you have to try to find the other one. So I bought, like I said, I bought 3 of them, and all 3 had the same eyebrows. Some people got mixed eyebrows, some people got the same, some got yellow, some got the dark. So, it's been very wonky. Prince Adam down there, Sky Sled, couldn't find that anywhere in stores, and then it showed up at a bargain store called Ollie's that we have in the States here, in certain states in America. Prince Adam popped up in some low quantity. Now, there's 3 variations of what these cards look like. You have the American version, the Europe version, and then like the South American version, which is like Mexico and Brazil and stuff. I don't have any of the South American ones, but their cards look a lot different because the writing is very different. If you notice on this Prince Adam here, I actually got the international version. So the international version has this writing on it here instead of this writing. So that's the difference. And usually in the corner, it'll say, new for 21, new for 20 or whatever. On these internationals, they usually don't say that. Let's see. And I don't know. Actually, I don't know if the vehicles even say that at all. Yeah, so I had the international for that too, for Battle Cat. There's 2 different Panthers. There's the limited edition Target one, which was $40, which ended up going on clearance, which was another nightmare. Let's get into Wave 7 Stratos. So all these are in order compared to wave. First wave, second wave, third wave, blah, blah, blah. Goes from there over, and there over, blah, 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 down to here. And then the current wave that's out now, which is Squeeze and Spiker, which should be right here, they're downstairs. So they're just not on display right now. They're on display downstairs because I like to keep the newer stuff where I can actually see it and enjoy it. I'm not in this room very much. So the old stuff gets moved into here. All right, so the beginning of this wave, you had COVID where you had limited quantities, right? So you missed a lot of this stuff. I jumped in around here, around Faker. It was hard to get most of these figures here. Evelyn, a lot of them everywhere. Faker, I got him, but once he was out of stock that week, never got more in. Tons of Fisto, Peg Warmer, Merman Lop, which is Lords of Power, which is the original sculpt of Merman, which is slightly different than the original Merman. That's why they say LOP, Lop, Lords of Power. This is the original sculpt. So Merman, kind of a Peg Warmer. Beastman, I had to order them online, hard to find, couldn't find them in stores. The one I did find in stores were damaged all to hell. Tyrannian Goddess, got lucky. I only found one of her in stores, so I bought her. Webster, only seen him in stores once, bought him. Now we get to this line here, which is the worst line ever. For whatever reason, Mattel decided to make an extreme amount of these 4 figures here. And when they first came out, we were pretty excited about them. Sorceress was my favorite figure because of her blue and white paint. Jitsu, a figure people love. Buzz-Off, a good army builder. But then we got to Stratus, and he's just straight up an ugly figure. I have the original Stratus downstairs, which I paid a ridiculous amount of money for at a toy convention. I think it was around $60 or so, but I got him in mint condition and he was fresh out of a sealed case. So I was happy with that. But this Stratus, we call him Naked Chicken Man or Stripper Stratus. That is the name that he's come with. And the hate people have for this figure is so much, and he's so devalued that you can get either of these figures brand new for about $7 anywhere because there's so many of them. I'm talking about they flooded the stores with these figures in early 2022. Now it's almost the end of 2023 and stores are still flooded with these 4 figures. So these 4 figures virtually killed entire Origins. This, everything to come after, has been a nightmare to collect. An absolute nightmare. How they did not know that those 4 figures sat on the fucking shelf for 2 years straight is beyond me. And why they would not clearance them till this day, I have no clue. Maybe there's another 100,000 sitting at the warehouse waiting to be shipped out to replace these ones once they get sold. I don't know. If you were lucky, you got to see these in stores. Only once had I seen these in stores, and they were in the back room. And it got to a point I was asking people to go in the back room and back stock and bring me all the He-Man toys out so I could go through them. And they didn't like that at all, but they would have to do it. So I actually got these three in stores. I passed on Sunman in the store because he was bent up pretty bad. So I ended up overpaying for him online. Only once did I see this line in stores, but it was kind of hopeful, a little bit hopeful, because a couple people found this line in stores. Didn't last very long. Now this is the next line people kind of saw in stores, which is kind of now still popping up a little bit. If you see any new figures that isn't, Stratus, you might get this line. But you're probably not going to find Mantenna. I got these online. I wanted to get them out of the way. I would have never got the whole wave in the store. You might still find Pighead, He-Man, and Skeletor in store. One of the four. The odds of you finding all four in a store were probably slim to none in the majority of areas. Now you got to realize there's lots of Walmarts, lots of Targets and everything. Just because one person found a lot in their area doesn't mean somebody's going to find a lot in another area. You got to look at a lot of this stuff is just randomized. And some of this has to do with if you're in a popular city, you're going to get more product in because it sells out faster because more people go into the store. So you might have better luck with that. So everything down here I had to buy online at Big Bad Toy Store in collector grade. I think there's only like a box or two that I had to buy from Entertainment Earth, and that's only because Big Bad Toy Store didn't offer collector grade on a certain wave. So I could have either went with their standard grade, which could have came damaged, or I could have picked Earth Entertainment's wave, which comes in the box, which comes less damaged. So I went with Earth Entertainment on a few of these. So these are the international figures. They have the little writing there. And, what's crazy about some of the international figures is the international figures are supposed to go to Europe. But in a lot of cases, they get flooded in America with these because the distribution is so messed up that we don't have enough of the figure or something, and then they'll send us Europe stock, and then the collectors in Europe are like, hey, what about us? You just sent our figures to America. So now they got to pay ridiculous amounts of shipping. I feel bad for anybody in Europe that has to collect this line. They are paying so much money to get some of the toys that are being sent over here. The same thing with Prince Adam down here. When I posted this online and said I got this at Ollie's, people are like, what? We can't get that in our country. I've never seen that in our country. And you guys are getting our European product? What is that? So, yeah. So the majority of this I had to get online. They came out with another Trap Jaw because people couldn't find the original Trap Jaw. And then people couldn't find the 40th edition Trap Jaw. So then they came out with a third Trap Jaw, which is a different color, which is pretty cool. I like them. They call them mini comic Trap Jaw. I know we got a lot of glare here. I'm sorry. But I had to get them online. Whiplash, a figure everybody was waiting for, had to get them online. Sunman, Boltman, a line that nobody asked for and nobody wanted, but came out anyways and flooded the stores. I had to order all this online. Cobra Khan, Rattler, Snake Armor He-Man, Snake Armor Skeletor, which some of these are showing up in stores. Not much. tongue lasher. I seen maybe 3 people found them in a store. Maybe 3 people found Roboto that I know of. That whole wave had a buy online. This wave had a buy online here. I don't know. I think I heard of maybe one person that found like a snake Tila in the store or something. King Rander, I guess from what I hear from people, is, once he sold out, he's been pretty hard to get. He's come back in stock in and off, online, on and off. Usually sells out. His pre-orders sell out pretty fast. So we have King Rander, and then the 200X version. The 200X version, if you don't know what that is these came out in about 2002, and they're He-Man figures which are sculpted in a very different way. You either really love them or hate them. So here's Buzz Off, for example. They're kind of very evil looking. Very evil looking, not very muscular, and if they are muscular, they always have like weird dimensions to them, They're very kind of lengthy, like they look like they're 6 foot tall, and they have these skinny heads, but they're kind of muscular and slim. But they have, these are the 200X version, which is, the red packaging. Here's Trapjaw. It looks very weird. I bought these at KB Toys for $5 a piece off the truck when I worked there in 2002. So they were released around 2002, but they're always called 200X. So they were, they're not releasing just the original figures. They're doing kind of all these different variations. They're doing repaints. They're doing a few 200X, doing a few exclusives. We got, let's see, up here. This is the very first Castle of Grayskull. This is the 200X Castle of Grayskull. And then the Origins one we have downstairs. Snake Mountain I have as well, but I just haven't had it shipped to me yet. So I'm up to date with everything here. Sometimes people will say, oh, you're missing a few or whatever. I have them, they're just not here. I haven't had them shipped to my house yet, or they're downstairs. I'm only missing, I think, 2 figures. Now, the last thing I guess I'll end on is the PowerCon exclusives. The PowerCon exclusives are the figures that were at PowerCon, which I actually went to this year. Here's the banner, PowerCon. I went Sunday. I went at the last minute because I didn't know it was happening. Paid ridiculous amount to park. Took me an hour to get there, so that's an hour in gas. Took me, I don't know, what is it, $20 to get in or something like that. After all the money you paid to get into the place, you're already paying eBay prices. But I wanted mint figures for the figures I was missing. Went in and spent about $300 on the figures I was missing, and just got it over with instead of tracking them down on eBay and resending them back. So PowerCon, I don't know if that's a Columbus, Ohio thing or if they had them anywhere else, but PowerCon has their own limited figures that they made, and they are super expensive. You had like I think it was the Horde pack they had. They had a couple things that they put out. I actually have like a checklist. I keep all my receipts and everything for this line. I don't know why. So some of the PowerCon exclusives. So San Diego Comic-Con exclusive was a Prince Adam and He-Man 2-pack. PowerCon, you have the Lords of Power 5-pack, She-Ra 35th anniversary. Losing my voice. Faker and Duplicat Evil Horde pack. So, these, some of these retailed at like $150, $60, $40, $270. The majority of this is going for $300 a piece. And then you had I missed a couple things like in the, here's another thing too. We'll try to end on this note too. The fuckery of the Mattel exclusives that you had to buy online that were only on sale for one day. The first couple figures of these, like the Triclops, which is over $100 now. Actually, most of these go right to eBay for $100. People are just buying as many as they can because it's so hard for people to get them. So I'm missing, I think, two 2 or 3 of them. I think I know I'm missing Sunman and Triclops, and I think that's it. What happened with these is in the beginning, they really had no kind of quantity limit on how many you could buy. So scalpers would log in right away on, multiple apps or whatever. And, they would buy 20 or whatever amount that they could get. The first one I got was Space Sumo, which is over there. And, is that the first? No, Woundar was the first one I got. And when I tried to get him online, he sold out within seconds. And I was so pissed I waited up all night to buy him, in the morning, that when I went to go check out to buy him, he was already sold out in seconds, that I immediately just went to eBay and I bought him for $60, which is 2 times more than the original price. So the original price is $20. I paid $60 from a scalper on the same day, just because I was like, you know what? I put in all this, I waited all week for this to come out. I stayed up all night to order it in the morning. Didn't get it. I was like, I'm going to get this figure. So I paid the scalper price and sold my soul. So that was a big problem with these exclusives, is so many people were buying them. They were selling out within, a minute or two. And, some people legit will buy 3 figures for themselves, one to keep sealed, one to display, one to play with their kids or to give to a friend or something. So there are lots of legit people that buy 3 for themselves. And then you have the scalpers that'll buy just as many as they can, until they just can't get no more. So that was a huge problem with this. After the whole Woundar incident, Mattel kind of made it right a little bit for us. They knocked down the quantity limit down to either 2 or 3, depending on the figure. They redid Woundar for another day. I think like 3 or 4 months later, they ended up doing Woundar for another day to give people another chance. And then Grizzler, is that his name? Grizzler or Grizzly? Grizzler, I think. Man, I've been ranting for 40 minutes straight here. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Grizzler, people had a hard time getting him, so they offered him a second time as a made-to-order thing. So depending on how many people ordered them is how many that they made, and then you would have to wait something like 8 months or something. A lot of these figures down here, I pre-ordered in the beginning of 2023 and got them just recently. So a lot of these figures, I had to wait 8 months. I ordered them 8 months on pre-order before I actually got them. So that is the craziness of trying to collect this Origins line. Now, where is Origins going from this point forward at the end of 2023 as I'm making this video? Apparently, Mattel had put out a press video at one of the comic conventions or whatever, toy conventions, and one of the Mattel people said that they are taking Origins out of the store. Simply, it's just not selling right. They won't admit it, but it's because of Stratos and their horrible distribution that's been all over the place. They don't know what they're doing. Anyways, they're taking them out of, actual stores you can walk into, and they're going to be selling it, finishing the line off, keeping their promise and finishing the line off, which I don't know if that means less figures, maybe less repaints and stuff like that. Maybe they just want to get it over with, or maybe they're going to milk it for another 2 years. We don't really know. But what we do know is they're going to put it to online only. And as far as we know, it's only going to be through Mattel's website. I don't know if Big Bad Toy Store will get orders or not. Hopefully they do, so we can guarantee some mint. Like I said, Lady Slither is the last exclusive that came out from Mattel, and a lot of people got their package damaged in shipping. So, shipping has been a big problem with people. A lot of people are just getting their toys just come destroyed, ripped in half, boxes ripped in half. So yeah, that's where it's going to be. Finishing off the line will be through their website for a ridiculous amount of taxes and shipping. Very expensive. Not looking forward to it, but I want to finish this line off in overall, I very much so, I do love these figures. So much so, as you can see, like, my other figures, I group together and peg together, and you can only kind of, if I'm sitting there enjoying looking at my toys, I'm really only enjoying what's in the front and not really so much what's in the back because I can't see it. Every once in a while, I'll rotate it, so there's some stuff, but really, I don't get to enjoy the stuff that's in the back as much. But if you notice, for He-Man, I rearranged this entire room to make room specifically for He-Man. So if I'm here working on my desktop on some art or some old products, watching a movie, listening to music, I just kind of glance over and look at all the figures here and just kind of browse at them. I love the artwork. The artwork is amazing. Um, Especially on some of the newer stuff that came out downstairs. Um, the Mossman art is really awesome. The new Manny Faces art is really awesome on the back. Just a lot of the art is just awesome. So, I like everything as the product packaged. I like the art, how it's packaged and everything, how it looks a lot like the original figures, which is kind of why it's called Origins. You could swap the parts. You could take the head off of one figure, put it on another figure. And that's the cool thing about it. With other, you could even swap the parts with a lot of the wrestling figures, the wrestling figure line that they came out with. You can swap arms, heads, and this is really great for people who open the product and like to take pictures and poses of their products and create scenery and stuff and these really awesome photos, which is why, people who open their products tend to not like people who keep the products sealed, but for me, it's the other way around. I love my products sealed, but I also love the openers as well because, for one, they make the value of my stuff go up by opening everything. But I do love the poses that they do with their figures and the creativity they come up with and the animation they do and stuff. There's a couple people who have did like animation flicks with their figures. So that is my rant about the horrible nightmare of collecting He-Man Origins. It has been pretty much anything but fun. Everybody, as soon as something new comes out, people are so afraid that they're not going to be able to get it that everybody tries to get it. And then it makes the product almost impossible to get. You don't know if you're going to get it. You don't know if the pre-order is going to come through or be canceled. Every figure that comes out, you don't know if you're going to get it or not. So people are paying ridiculous prices, um, all sorts of stuff. I've never really seen anything like this. I probably sound like Trump when I say that, but it's something I've never really seen before is because the distribution's been so wonky that people are just dying to get this stuff. And like I said, the newest thing, the Rulers of the Sun, the other pack that's come out at Target, right now people are going berserk over that. Their pre-orders have been canceled. They're popping up at stores for $50. $50 is overpriced. They're probably going to be marked down for $25 or something in a few months or so. But do you take that risk and miss out on it? You don't know what to do. You just don't know what to do while collecting this line. And that is why this Origins, He-Man Origins, has been a nightmare. So we'll leave it at that. I'm sure I covered almost everything. Might have missed a thing or two. Like I said, I did not have no footnotes. This is just all ranting off the top of my head. So, yeah. I hope people enjoyed this video, because I didn't.